Good afternoon, everyone. Scott Jennings, founder and CEO of Projectric. I want to welcome you to today's webinar, Decision Making, How Project Manage Decisions with a Project Portfolio Management Solution. So let's go ahead and get started. I just want to quickly run through the webinar logistics. It'll be about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit less. Everybody's muted, so feel free to talk amongst yourselves and your colleagues. It'll be a one-way discussion originally. I had planned to do the interactive polls. However, the capability is not functional for this right now in GoToWebinar, so I apologize. So if you have questions, however, or any feedback, you can submit them in our panel, which you guys have in terms of entering the webinar, or at projectric.com afterwards if questions that we're not able to get to. Finally, this is recorded, so afterwards you'll have access to the recording and can either rewatch it or share it with colleagues. So better decisions via project portfolio management, and specifically what we're going to cover today is around 4 key areas of portfolio management. Presented here somewhat in order of the timing in which these things take place in terms of the PPM process and how a project moves throughout the organization. And so the first is, how can a PPM solution help organizations make better decisions around project intake, scoring, and priority? Go through some definitions and get to the details of that in a moment. Secondly, resource management, better decisions around how to use them the organization and throughout the process. PPM solution, how can better decisions with project management, and some of the things that we have in here, like issue tracking, are at the project level, but also relevant across the portfolio, and again, helping make better specific projects. And then finally, to wrap it up, organizational decisions, really, as they are brought forth through the larger picture portfolio reporting analysis for stakeholders throughout the organization. So this will be the specific things that we'll cover in terms of better decisions. But these are the 4 areas that we'll focus on in more. As I said, unfortunately, the polls are not working, so I apologize for that, but we'll come. Just to give a high-level overview of project portfolio management, Projectric, and a little bit about kind of how we got here from a bigger picture perspective. The IT role is evolving, and you can read through the from and points on here, and they all correspond on the left to sort of a new reality, right? But a lot of this is summarized as simply being a down in order taking, process reengineering group, really needing to and being required to really focus on business outcomes, help with revenue versus just cost controlling, all these elements. Really what this ends up with is an organization with an IT that needs to be much more responsive and open and transparent. And also, much of this is driven by organizations presenting new initiatives, new projects to maintain competitive advantage edge. So the roles evolve. And with that, decision-making, both within IT, within the PMO, or within the project management group, within the organization overall, needs to evolve. Okay, stakeholders need access. They need real-time information. We need to make quick decisions. We need to be able to move. And so the old way of project managers managing projects which just happen to roll up into a portfolio and having a very siloed view is not really going to be a competitive advantage. It really needs to be more of an evolving circular decision-making process. There's stakeholders throughout the organization, in IT, outside of IT, above, below you, your peers, etc. All these elements evolving over time. And this really, to me, is the new reality of how organizations work, with IT at the center, needing to do these elements. And so what that means is that everything changes. The old way of looking at projects and approving them tracking things haphazardly or manually, being very reactive to how things happen within IT in terms of assets and resources. And the project management team as being a customer, that's changed, right? The project in place these days are not server upgrades always. They are changes driven by, I think, just digital transformation, other elements that are forcing organizations into new lines of business and new ways of thinking. And they have very real consequences. And this organizations really need to look and react. And take all that together, that's why we built Projectric. Very cloud-based end-to-end project management, really with a delivering value in terms of low time to market, simple pricing, ultimately delivering a quick ROI. So that's why we built the solution. That's why we're here. That's why we feel like those better decisions be made within IT and organizations via project portfolio management. And I wanted to take the next bit of the time here to just quickly go ahead and take a look at that. Let's look at how PPM is driving decisions, and we'll use the project portfolio management solution from Projectric as the So this is the Projectric solution. We'll go ahead and run. This is a good place to start. I'll come back to reporting in a moment. That's really the fourth piece that we want to look at. But really the first was around project intake, scoring, and prioritization. And really what I wanted to start with out of the box, the way that products across a portfolio or a series of portfolios are organized in Projectric and in a PPM solution is by having some discrete ways to group and organize them. And in this case, we had the initial request, which I'll focus on, and then they kind of evolve throughout the process, becoming more actively considered, prioritized, scored items in a pipeline to being projects that are being actively managed, to those that are completed, and also you have canceled and archived. The numbers here and the numbers here correspond to, we have 350 projects in this in this large sample portfolio. Many organizations have far fewer. Projectric can work for companies with as few as 2 projects. It's not really project centric in terms of it can scale across any amount. But this makes for an interesting graph data as we go through the demo. So this is what we'll start the process with, is the fact that projects move through Projectric with this kind of flow, and they're always tagged so we understand where they are throughout the life cycle and where they fit within the portfolio. How do items get requested, and how can we make decisions and scoring? That's the first part of this process. So within the solution itself, I think I timed out. Just a quick. Okay. Apologies for that. I was on hold for quite a bit. I think my system timed out. Within the application, individual projects, as you see here, they have a name, they have ID, and then some information about them in terms of are and some things like that. But what I wanted to show is within you have a complete project intake process, and that's everything from allowing users outside of IT, anywhere in the organization, either through a form like this that you see here, new sales initiative, store upgrades. Going through a form, you can allow within your organization to come in and enter the information around the project that they're looking to do. And then we can capture everything from the submitter to urgency, who's going to sponsor this project from a budgetary perspective, who's going to be the PM on it, from a nuts and bolts perspective, are there analysts? All this information is optional other than the name. And so at this point, what we can do is create a new request. And at this point, it now has eyes on it. It's visible throughout the application. It's simply a request. And there's different information that can be put in either through forms, through meetings, by a single individual, by multiple stakeholders around information around this project. All of it is stored and captured. It's stored in a database. It's kept in discrete forms that could be, and fields that could be reported on later, whether they're pick lists or searchable items. So this becomes the basis for the reporting later and moves away from documents being emailed, spreadsheets, other elements like that. So this is some of the information we'll start to gather around a project, and this is what helps organizations make decisions around, do I move these initiatives forward? If we go back to the screen, we want to look at the list of all the different requests we have. We can start to take a look at them and get a sense of what they look like. Now, as we move through the process, pipeline of items that have not more information than, but the Projectric solution and any PPM solution should have prioritize and score initiative to help understand at a high level, do they baselines and criteria, are they aligned with strategic objectives, risk return profile, and then within prioritize them against each other. And so Projectric has a scoring solution built in that supports, where is the score here? Here it is, the scorecard that helps organizations put together profiles for each project, generate the right information, and go ahead and walk through that process. So the scoring process allows us to come up with how we score projects, and quantitative measures here. Quantitative measures that help us ensure that this is not a subjective, but that these scores that we can put in here are tied to top-down organizational standards and metrics. We understand that what is the cost, what is the risk, what is the reward, and this helps us go through and put scores. We can override this if the project needs to move forward either way, but this helps us come up with what this project profile looks like. This then gives us a couple of different metrics that we can start to use to help prioritize and profile projects. One of them is a top initiative tab here, which presents the projects in descending order with their scores. So if there's a question of, we only have 6 resources and we have 10 items here, which 6 do we, maybe there's a scoring piece to that. The second is, if we go back to the charting element, we can take something we gather during the scoring process and actually visualize what these initiatives might look like. So we have in here the ability to look at projects either by a specific profile. So let's look at all the initiatives that we have set up to both improve sales and increase customer service. And we want to measure them not just by their reward and risk profile on this X and Y graph, but also color code them for these 2 items and also understand the complexity. And this would help us go through, if we just look at the customer service initiatives, we have 2 items here. They both have similar complexity. One has more risk than the other. If we're only going to move forward with one, it looks like project 2, the bug check project, better fit for us. Risk profiles are just a little bit lower. And not only back to the numbers, but I can see that a little bit here in a screen like this. We want to understand not just the complexity of what is the project cost, and go from there. So this graph can be used to show all sorts of information that we gathered during the scoring process. So the PPM solution can help you gather the correct information across the organization to do project intake, a series of workflows that your projects need to step through in order, allow you to gather that information, score it, and then look at topics, and again, an absolute perspective, anything certain score, meet our organizational standards for risk reward, and it's just not worth the effort. And then from a relative perspective. And then again, you can use graphing to help make those decisions as well. The next thing that we looked at was just around better decisions around projects themselves, project issues and things of that nature. And so what we have in Projectric is the ability to look at a couple different things. One is from a portfolio perspective, drilling into by product, what are some of the health elements? If we take the information we have about each project, high level, how do we look at it from an overall top-down view? And that is by milestones. Are we meeting milestones that you have the project plan for each individual item? So we'll understand if milestones are being met. Budget issues, which I want to talk about separately. Are there issues and roadblocks to this project being completed? Hours, we have both time and dollars spent. Are we going to meet certain finish dates? And the OX is the project management subjective of just how is this going? So we can pull all this in, sort it through these. We can view this from this active health perspective. We can view the overall piece here with a health indicator of my active projects. How are we across these 5 milestones again? And again, this might help us identify from a project perspective how we're doing. Specifically within projects, I think there's a really cool piece in here, which is that we have the ability to discretely track issues. And through the notification and collaboration process within Projectric, we can create an issue. So, again, for this, there's not enough room in the server process, describe it in more detail, assign it to a specific individual, have a date upon which we identified this. What's the impact of the project from 0 to 100? When do we need to fix by? Where's the overall progress? Is it closed? Changes? And all this will go to the key stakeholders of this project and require updates throughout the life cycle of this particular issue. So that can be done at a portfolio level, and the reason you do there is on it, you might need to reassign resources, and you can put all these together and see if there's 1 or 2 issues per project may not flag, but if you take those together and you've got 20 issues, that's a much bigger challenge. And an individual project may only have 1, but again, add them up, and you start to see that those might start to pile up. And so on these planned tasks tab, we have milestones to do, and we have a list of issues that are out there across the portfolio that, again, done for you might help you make better decisions around which projects you're looking at. The third item in the better decision-making piece is around how do I best my resources. They are the most valuable resource that most organizations have, especially those doing large capital projects. How do we best assign them, and how do we best use them? So there's 3 really interesting ways that Projector can help organizations make better decisions around utilization. The first is just being able to see the entire portfolio, the list of roster by name, by department, can be sorted by any of those here through these drop downs. Simply looking at a list by time, either by hours or months, by percent, or by months. We're looking at the week view. I can talk monthly. And then either by hours or percent of their availability, how are they being used? And this just gives a high-level top-down view. The second really interesting way that we can help organizations make better decisions via PPM is because we have all the projects in the application, this is how resources are being utilized across the active initiatives that we have. And I'll talk a little bit about the red, green, and black in a moment. The other thing that we can do, though, is to maybe get a better look is I have a bunch of projects scored and prioritized highly, have a key benefit to the organization, have assigned to them based on the requirements. What would it look like if the initiatives move live? And so by doing this what-if analysis, we include the pipeline, that is those projects that are not live but maybe soon, and look at how certain resources and their loads change according to this. The color coding helps us see people that are overloaded, and overloaded or not. The third thing that we can do directly in this screen is come into any person, and their utilization could exceed 100% depending on how many projects they're working on. And we could take them, we can expand and see the list of specific initiatives, and any one of these, click on it, and we could take them and reallocate them and assign their work or some of their work to a different resource. The solution looks at what skill is being used on that project, who are other people within the organization that have that same skill, and then lists them here and allows you to reassign some or all of that work to a particular individual. So that's a third way you can make better decisions, is better use your resources and do that in a way that gets in front of resource constraints out into the future. So project intake, overall project management and issue tracking, resource management, those are the first 3 ways. The last are some of the things that we've looked at and the reporting and metrics and analytics. Because we're going in and gathering things such as some key elements about the project around who the people are, the business case, any kind of constraints. We'll gather quantitative metrics. The ones gather initially when the project is being put forth are forecasted numbers. We have what we expect the project to fit in here and any other stats. And when we get to the end of the process, we'll have allow us to track things such as actual. So if we go to any of the archived projects and take a look at information in here, we've also been able to go in and gather, if we had completed this, what the forecasted score was, what the actual score was, and we can put together a series of reports that help us compare those elements. Were we accurate in our forecasts? Which project managers consistently come in on time? And so the charting that's built into the application, and this is all out of the box, helps us look at things like where are the projects across the entire portfolio, which projects have I started, which milestones are coming up, how we done from a delivery perspective, and all these have an out-of-the-box piece, and we can simply come in and through some simple, easy-to-use query elements, just say I want to look, any projects where, Jackie Allen is the project manager, and rerun this report for that, and just take a look at her pieces specifically. Some of them are on time, some of them are late, some of them are very late, and these are all things with some out-of-the-box reporting. And again, milestones, delivery, health. I walk through, look at health across the portfolio. We can pick which projects we want to look at in here, but very quick, out-of-the-box, top-down RAG reports at a summary level and at a detail level. Risk. Again, I walk through the risk piece. Metrics. Again, metrics help us look at which metrics we're gathering. If we take a look at the active projects, for example, and take a look at how they are from an actual versus forecast perspective, and I'm sure we could come up with some better metrics in here with a little bit more time. What was the cost? What were the cost savings? All of those are in here. Looking at resources and budgets and milestones from a top-down perspective, again, there's a Gantt chart. I've got some outline data in here, so this is a little bit compressed, but a Gantt chart to look across by projects with milestones, issues, start dates and end dates, and all the details being in here. The last piece I want to show you around the reporting is, in addition to quantitative metrics around the results of these projects, information about the project itself in terms of who's on it, the other thing that Projectric allows is organization-wide metadata tagging of projects. So I'll go back to an individual project, and if we go to one of the things we can look at is what we call tags. And the application has a series of tags that you can configure when the application is being set up, unique to your organization. So this would be empty when the application is initially set up, and then each organization creates what they think are their correct metadata tags they want to use. And every project can then be assigned to them, what system is this, where it's done, et cetera. This becomes incredibly helpful in reporting. It's very simple to stand up, but it's a set of tags. So when we go in here to the circles report, I want to look at projects that we have active by the business objective. What is our portfolio doing right now? Who are we doing it for? And any one of these become graphable and viewable. Where are we doing it? Where are all these projects being done that are active? And so again, it will take the tags and just change it to a particular piece out of it, what are we left with, et cetera. So this is another way, again, the reporting helps us make not just one decision, but multiple decisions about around where are we doing business, should we be doing this, should these, how are they going, what is the overall health, and what are the results. So that's a very high level walkthrough of PPM and how it helps organizations make better decisions. Let me segue over to the presentation and just see where we ended up. I believe we are. Here we go. That's why we built Projectric again. So again, the polls aren't working. So just an example from a few Projectric customers of how PPM has helped them better manage resources, focus on developing products better, methodology, support work, reduce costs, and again, with the greatest ROI and those that align to the business plan. Again, these are decisions that these organizations make every day with a solution such as Projectric. So I wanted to wrap up with the Q&A piece. We're just at the end of our time. Again, the webinar is recorded, so we can make this available. I just wanted to go in here. How is the solution available? Is a question that was asked. So again, Projectric is a cloud-based solution. Organizations can get up and running within daily login. Users are set up. There's some customization of certain elements to the organization in terms of scoring and to tags that I showed, but its setup is a simple matter of days, and everything is done via the cloud, so it's all done via login. Another question was around security and user types. Yes, so Projectric is an enterprise cloud if it needs to be, so that means we have a variety of user types that we can offer that allow people to either see their own projects, see the entire portfolio. Some of them have read-write access to update information about projects. Some have read-only access reports and things like that. So yeah, we certainly support an enterprise system in terms of security, who can do what, and a number of different user types. I think to know that Projectric is sold not on a user basis, so we encourage organizations to have users of the system as possible to make sure that you have everything covered from how users can do a project intake and put forth initiatives all the way through to top-down reporting from a portfolio perspective. Okay, I think there's a few more questions that are a little bit specific. I'll follow up with the individuals afterwards. But with that, I want to thank everyone for attending. Again, you can reach out to me, scott@projectric.com, or go to the website for any additional information to see a specific personal demo. Happy to do that or walk through any next. But with that, I want to thank everybody for attending. Again, the recording will be made available later this afternoon. It usually takes a little while for GoToWebinar to download. And so with that, I appreciate everybody's time. Have a good afternoon. Thank you very much.